Apple are marketing geniuses. They spent years perfecting their sleek, luxury, minimalist image to build brand loyalty with their consumers. Apple is now synonymous with words like creativity and innovation. And with their latest release of the Apple Watch Ultra, they're looking to cement their association with a phrase like active lifestyle. And for everyday people like you and me who might buy into the ecosystem, or more importantly, the lifestyle, it might end up meaning that we might buy products that we don't actually need because we've been sold on the lifestyle rather than buying it for the actual use case. But before we go any further with the video, hey, I'm Keith. I like talking about tech, marketing, lifestyle, and whatever I find interesting really. And today we're talking about how Apple lean into consumerism with their marketing tactics to build brand loyalty. And no, I'm not an Apple hater. I'm very much an Apple fanboy. I have an Apple Watch, an iPhone, MacBook Pro, iPad. I'm pretty sure I have some other Apple products, but even this Apple fanboy has to sit back and reflect and ask, am I buying things that I don't actually need? Apple obviously aren't the only brand to lean into consumerism. I know that, but I like Apple. We just had the Apple event. The Apple Watch Ultra sparked some interest in my brain, and I was like, why not use my advertising skills, marketing skills to deep dive into this topic? And more importantly, why people are considering buying a watch that they might not use to its full potential. There was a famous study done at Duke University that flashed the Apple logo and the IBM logo to two separate randomized groups. And that study found being subconsciously exposed to the Apple logo compared to the IBM logo meant that participants performed better on creative tasks. And since the 1950s, researchers have looked at the relationship between self-image and brand preferences, with findings that generally found that consumers prefer brands that fit well with their self-image, which is also a concept called self-image congruity, which basically means we buy or verbalize our intention to buy a specific branded product to help project our image into the wider social world, no matter the cost of that item. But what does that all have to do with a smartwatch? Like a lot of you, I watched the Apple event on September 7th, very excited to see the products that they were going to release this year. I was particularly excited for the iPhone 14 Pro Max because I have the iPhone 11 Pro Max, which has a somewhat cracked screen, muffled speakers, and it's just an older phone, so the battery life is not as optimal as it could be. They kicked off the event unveiling the Apple Watch Series 8, which has a lot of cool features like the crash detection, or features that are aimed at women like the temperature tracking for ovulation, which was pretty cool. But for me, as a Series 7 stainless steel Apple Watch user, there was no glaring or obvious reason for me to upgrade my watch until I saw the Ultra. A bigger, more durable, longer lasting, feature-packed watch that was aimed at the outdoor explorer, deep sea diver, and elite level athletes. My first thought after that segment wrapped was, I don't need it. I even texted my brother-in-law saying it's a cool watch, but it's definitely overkill for the everyday person. Like, I don't ever see myself using the depth gauge because I don't dive. I won't need to use the new compass to track elevation and waypoints because I don't do mountaineering. And I won't need to use the dual frequency GPS system because I don't trail run. However, I woke up the next day and almost bought the new Apple Watch. Granted, the only reason I was going to buy it was to make a video about how the average person doesn't actually need to buy the watch. And in a moment of clarity, I actually thought, hey, why not save £845, even though I was going to return it. But in short term, save £845. I can still make that type of video, which is this. And that money can actually just go to something else. And I stand by that. The average person does not need to buy this watch. But the person that has bought into Apple's messaging will rationalize and convince themselves that they will need to buy it. And now that becomes a battle between actual self-image and ideal self-image. And this is where Apple's genius marketing strategy comes in. And it's actually a strategy that they borrowed, and we've probably seen before, from Nike, or Nike if you're in America. Back in 2012, for the Summer Olympics, Nike launched a campaign called Find Your Greatness. And that campaign built up this idea of the everyday athlete. They could have used well-known athletes within the campaign to build a level of aspiration, but they didn't. They used everyday people because it's more relatable. They can leverage the emotion of inspiration, play into the concept of self-image congruity. And now if we take a look at how Apple have positioned the Apple Watch Ultra, no notable athletes, and the closing lines of the film say,
Apple Watch Ultra is an essential tool for essentially anything. So what will your anything be?
Now, it's super clear from this film that this watch is supposed to be used in extreme conditions. But because we've already bought into Apple's Think Different brand messaging, which is all about creativity and innovation, it makes it a lot easier to rationalize the reasons as to why you would need this watch, because you might become more active or you might go out and do this thing and be more adventurous, when in reality you might not be. You might go for the occasional run or hike. You might already work out more than the average person. And you might need to assess your heart rate zones or your running form and stride lengths. But if you took a second to look at the Watch OS 9 page, you'll find that the features that seemed exclusive to the Ultra are actually available on most Watch OS 9 compatible devices. All this is an example of expert branding, marketing, and product market fit. For the average person or the moderately active person, the Series 8 is actually all you need, and it does a lot of what the Ultra does. An example is that you can also get cool features like the compass backtrack mode on the Series 8 and SE models, as well as the Ultra. The Series 8 was primarily marketed as a watch for wanting to be healthy, whereas the Ultra was marketed as a watch to go and find your next adventure. So it's super clear that brands, which is not just Apple, have a huge impact on our buying decisions. And we have to make sure that we're not just running or rushing to go and buy the newest or upgrading to the newest and shiny thing every single year because it's new and shiny. Does it meet a need of yours, or does it solve a problem that you have? That need could be to measure your deep sea dive or to simply just have a nice watch. Whatever it is, just make sure you think about it. So if you want my advice or opinion, not that you asked for it, of whether you should get the Apple Watch Ultra, I would say no. You don't need it unless you are a super active person or you are an athlete. Wanting the Ultra might just come down to what it makes you look like optically in front of your peers and wider society, which is fine. It's not a bad thing. In my opinion, it's a better looking watch and it's cheaper than some of the leading alternatives. If you're somebody that just goes to the office or you work out a few times a week, or you're coming from an older model like the Series 6 and below, then yeah, get the Series 8 or the SE. Like I said, I won't be upgrading from the Series 7 to the Series 8 because there wasn't much difference to me, so no reason to buy it. But I will be buying the iPhone 14 Pro Max and maybe the AirPods. So if you want to see my thoughts on those devices, consider subscribing. If you like this video, give it a like and let me know what you think about this topic in the comments below. See you in the next one. Peace.